Hi guys, so this is going to be a brief video covering some feedback for your research paper. I've gone through all the ones that have been turned in so far and given you guys notes that you're able to find. If you go back to your original document, you'll see, just like last time, notes all throughout your paper that I've given you, telling you things to work on, and then on the side you'll see a comment that basically covers all the things I'm expecting you to fix for the final draft. So what I'm going to do now is I have a PowerPoint here where I'm going to go through some of the common issues that have shown up over and over again in this paper. And I'll switch back and forth a little here and show you guys from our sample as well. Okay, so first of all, one of the big issues that popped up over and over again is MLA formatting. There's two parts to MLA formatting. There's the citations that you end up having and the in-text citations, but there's also the way that the paper looks. The samples that I gave you guys are all pretty good examples of that. And what I'm looking for here is for you to have your paper should be in 12-point font, Times New Roman, and it needs to be double spaced. A lot of you guys were missing at least one of those things. This here is not Times New Roman. Times New Roman looks like this. Here in our sample, you can see all the little marks on the outside of the words. That's what Times New Roman is. You can select that by going up here. You can select 12-point font up here as well. So, and also double spaced, that's standard for any of these research papers. You should have a heading that looks like this one: your name, my name, the class, and the date. And up at the top right, you should have your last name and the page number on every page. Every paragraph needs to be indented. And then your works cited page should be here at the end. Let's go back to the other one. So yeah, 12-point font, Times New Roman, last name and page number in the top right. We just covered that. Heading should be your name, my name, the class, and the date. You should have a title that isn't just paper 2 or something like that. Every source should have an in-text citation, or should mention the author or the article somewhere in the text. And every source should have a complete MLA citation in the works cited page. Okay, so for in-text citations, every source you use needs to be cited in the text as well as in your works cited page. A typical in-text citation will include the last name of the author and the page number after the last piece of relevant information. So if you summarize something from a text, if you've used a quote from a text, after that is when you'd have the in-text citation. If you use that source over and over again, you'd have your citation after the last piece of information. So generally that looks like this: last name and page number in parentheses. If your source doesn't have a page number, it would just be the last name. If your source has no obvious author, you'll create a shorthand version of the title in quotes or italics, depending on what kind of title it is, and in parentheses. So that looks like this generally. You do not need to include any information that you've already given. So if you've already stated who the author is, if you're like Bob Jones in How to Cite Your Sources says you should always cite your sources, then you don't actually have to include that. So here's an example of how that looks Yeah, How to Cite Your Sources, Harvard English professor Bob Jones says, always cite your sources. And then since we've already given the last name of the author here, we don't have to include that in our citation. If you didn't have a page number here, you wouldn't even need a citation at all. So for the Works Cited page, the layout of your Works Cited citations needs to be correct as they communicate so that they communicate what they're trying to communicate. Check the video on finding sources to see how to make these. I've showed you guys how to make these in Google Docs and in Word in that video, so go back and look at that. Every article you use needs to at least have a title, website, or publisher, since we're using websites and web pages, date published and hyperlink, and a date accessed. Most of them will have authors and page numbers as well. So this is what a typical article would look like. This is from the compassion fatigue article that we were just looking at. This is the last name, first name of the author, the first author. This one had more than 3 authors, so it says et al. Here, which means and all in Latin. This is the full title in green. This is the article title, volume and issue number, the date it was published, and the pages it was on. This is with the publishing organization. If it's different than the journal, you put a different organization. And then down here is a hyperlink and the date access. This is the day that you looked it up. So let's look back over at our sample here. You can see also that these are all in alphabetical order by the first letter of each one. So yeah, this one's the title. This is the website that it was published on. This is the date it was published. This is the hyperlink. This is the date accessed. So all of that stuff is here. If we look back up at the, y'all can see this, right? Yeah. Some of the in-text citations. This is one that is just a article with a title. It doesn't have any page numbers. It doesn't have an author. This one is also one with a title and no page numbers or author. This is one by someone named Dikansku, and it's on page 60 of that one. And we can look at these, we can tell where this information in here came from, and then we can go all the way down to the bottom and we can find this actual article here to go and look up if we wanted to. Alright. So, next. Cite every fact that you have except common knowledge. Common knowledge would be something like nurses work at a hospital. A fact that you need to cite is 1 in 4 nurses quit during the pandemic. So common knowledge is stuff that you generally learned before 6th grade. More specialized stuff, anything you think your audience wouldn't know, is something that you should cite from somewhere. Even if you already know it, you need to go and find a source that says it and cite that. Ideally, you'd have quite a few sources in a research paper like this. I'm only asking for you to give 3, but if you have a fact in your introduction or something like that, like 1 in 4 nurses quit during the pandemic, that needs to be cited. That needs to come from somewhere. Thesis statements. Your thesis statement should be a single sentence discussing the main topic and your subject's point, your supporting points. So, generally a research thesis statement is going to be something like, people should buy electric cars because they are cheaper to drive and safer for the environment. That's more of an argumentative essay. For a research one, global warming is caused by carbon emissions and methane emissions, or something like that. where you're sort of making an argument no matter how you write your thesis, but it needs to have in there basically what your main idea is and what the points are you're going to talk about to support that main idea. Yeah, so these are some examples. Nurses suffer from stress because of long hours, difficult patients, and understaffing. Wind technology has led to cheaper electricity and a cleaner environment. Okay, those are probably better research ones. Body paragraphs. For a body paragraph, you need to have these 4 parts in it. Some people just had evidence and they just talked about one source in each one of their paragraphs. That's not a research paper. That's what you call a literature review, which is just a discussion of different articles. What I'm asking you guys to do here instead is have a main idea, have supporting points for that, and those points need to be supported by facts you got from somewhere. So this is an example from our sample paper. You need a topic sentence, briefly explaining your topic. Her topic sentence was, STS can damage a person's mental health to the point where they cannot handle it anymore. Elaboration in your own words, where you explain what your topic sentence means in more detail. So, social workers want to step up and advocate for our most vulnerable, but sometimes even the strongest can't stomach the realities of it. And then you need to have evidence in there. You can have multiple places where you elaborate and give evidence, that's fine. You can do that quite a lot. You could make a paragraph that's a whole page long if you did that. That's probably not a good idea for a paper that's only 500 words. But you need this to happen at least once. You need a piece of evidence. So, a shocking statistic revealed that 50% of children of child welfare workers will leave the profession within the first 2 years due to stress and burnout. This is from something called Essential Statistics. Another determined that the range of turnover within the child welfare profession has been anywhere from 20 to 40% for the last 2 decades. Okay. So last, you're going to have explanation and wrap up. This is where you tie your evidence back into your main idea and your the main idea of your paragraph and the main idea of your paper. So she says, a high turnover rate leads to people viewing Social Security as a stepping stone, not a career path, which leads to fewer people entering or staying in the profession. It can also negatively affect clients if they are constantly moving between different social workers. Okay. So yeah, you need all of those parts in there. And all the red part, the blue part, the green part, the green part in here, all of those are your own words. The orange part here is the only source that we have. This is about as much source as you would generally want to have in a paragraph. The rest of this needs to come from you. Alright. Don't just summarize one source. That's a mistake a lot of people make, is they basically just copy the main idea of a longer article into their paper. So that's just a summary. That's going to lose you a lot of points if you did that. Missing commas, we didn't have as many of these this time, and I think you kind of understand what they are at this point, but look out for missing commas after introductory words, like fortunately, unfortunately, stuff like that. Introductory phrases, like on the other hand, and dependent clauses. Because I ate too much turkey, comma, I fell asleep. Include a comma before a fanboys connecting to independent clauses. I ate pecan pie, comma, and my dad watched football. You might be able to tell that I made most of this PowerPoint before Thanksgiving. Alright, run-on splices fragments. I didn't honestly see very many of these. If You had a problem with run-on splices and fragments again. I was probably pointing out some other stuff, but yeah, just like I said before, just try to take out the different pieces of your sentences and see how they function together, see how they function alone. Yeah, these are different kinds of... Where did I do this from? Run-ons. Yeah, this is a different kind of... this is a run-on. My dog hates dog food. He only likes human food. This one is a comma splice. My cat likes to sleep all day. She runs around all night. This one is a fragment without a predicates. Longview High School in Longview, Texas. This one doesn't have a subject. On the way to the store. This one is an incomplete thought because I attend Kilgore College. And yeah, this one is a sprawl. I think I covered sentence sprawls in the last one, but a sentence sprawl is basically when you write a sentence that just goes on for too long and has too many fanboys in it, so that by the time you get to the end of it, you get a different meaning than at the beginning. Okay. Yeah, we didn't have very much of that, so we'll just move on. I didn't see a lot of people saying you. Try to avoid saying you in a research paper. Okay. So on Blackboard, it says take 5 minutes and respond to the ask a question about your research paper feedback assignment. This is located in week 6, so you'll have until Thursday, I believe, to actually respond to this. And you don't have to take 5 minutes to do it, but it shouldn't be very hard to come up with a question based on the feedback that I gave you guys. So make sure to get that in by Thursday, and from there you're going to start working on looking at the argument paper. Alright guys, have a great rest of your weekend, and see you in the comments.